Hey there, everyone. It's Emily with Pro Stitcher, and we have Kaye Collins with us today. We are so excited. She is going to talk to us about circles, and I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself. Thanks so much for being here, Kaye.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. So yes, I'm Kaye Collins, and my business is Oh Kaye Quilting, and I'm a handy quilter, national educator, and I love traveling around and teaching about Pro Stitcher. Pro Stitcher is the best. It's just so much fun. So today we're going to just learn about a little trick that I like to do to make circles, and mandalas are really hot right now, so it's just kind of a fun thing to be able to do on your quilts and on
Awesome. We're
pillows
so
or whatever.
excited. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen here and we'll get started. All right. Of course, I have to have my glasses on here. Okay. Here we are in Pro Stitcher. Let me just make this a little bit bigger for myself. All right. So I am in simulation, and you can always tell if you're in simulation because your crosshairs are green. So what we're going to do is open a design. And you can really use just about any design for this. Now I'm going to close by C. I'm going to actually go into my PS patterns, and I'm going to come down. If you haven't gotten into, the Pro Stitcher Connect, this is just so fun. We're going to go into, I think this was last October's club, and it's called Barn and Brunch. And we're going to use this really fun farmhouse, the windmill, it's called the farmhouse windmill. So we have this design, and I want to turn this into a circle. So I could just use this design as it is, but it's going to be better for me if I take off this little piece. So let's talk about how to do that. It's super easy. But I can go to Pro Stitcher and go to my new start and end. And I'm going to move my end point over here. So over in start and end, we have two columns. So I want to use my end column. The first set of arrows up here, those move things by maybe a stitch. Okay, that's not useful to us right now. And the bottom one will jump us like a design, and we don't want to use that right now. So we're going to use the middle set of arrows, and I'm going to go backwards one, and poof, there it is, right where I want it. So now that I have my endpoint moved, I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to go to crop. And then you may not have ever noticed that you have this option down here. We use inside and outside all the time, but we don't often use this start and end point. If I click on this, that it just took off that whole little piece and it's just gone. I'm going to baseline this just for good measure because it's always a good thing to do. So now I have my design, and now I want to do something fun with it. So the first thing I want to do is duplicate it. So I'm going to go into the edit tab and hit duplicate. So now I'm going to have two, and you can't see the second one because it landed right on top of the first one. Now it's kind of important to, I'm just going to check something quickly. Okay, yes, this is our first one. So what I want to do is with my first one, I'm not going to do anything right this second, but with my second one that I just opened up, I need to actually turn this. So I'm going to go to modify. So that's up in the tabs. And then in the ribbon, I want to go to rotate. And over here in the sidebar, I want to use my 45. And I always use my 45 to the right. The reason I always use that for this technique is because generally we're going to have our start points on the left and be stitching to the right. So it's just, that's going to make things easier. So I'm going to go 45 to the right, one click. All right. So now I have that situated how I want it. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to pick up my first windmill. And I'm going to use these crosshairs only as basically a pinning device. So what I'm going to do is I want my end point to be right on that crosshair. Now I could try to move my crosshair, but why would I do that when there's so many easier ways to do things? So I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to go to the reposition tab, and I want to reposition my end point. So if I click on this button way over here, end point, that now it is perfectly lined up. Okay, now I'm going to go and I'm going to select my second windmill that's already tilted, as in Don Quixote here. We are going to hit this one. I want to line up my start point. So I'm not moving anything over here. I'm just going to hit start point and bam, there it is. Now these two things are exactly lined up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, and these are buttons that we don't often use either, but we're going to go select none. And then I'm going to use this button right here, which is select all. I'm going to click on that and they will both highlight. And you notice there's no weird jumps or anything. And these two, if I hit baseline right now, they are going to be connected. And that's exactly what we want to do. So now those two designs are connected. All right. So now I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So we've got the start of something really exciting. So now this is one design. So we're going to go to edit. We're going to duplicate it. And we are going to just drag it over here so that, it's not totally in our way. Now we need to turn that. So we're going to go to modify. We're going to go to rotate. And we're going to use our 45 to the right. Now this time the last time we rotated 45. Now we need to rotate this segment 90. So we're going to click on this 2 times. So 2 windmills, 2 clicks. That's kind of how I remember it. Okay. So now we've got it turned, and I like to just drag it down here. It's like, okay, yeah, that's exactly, it's going to line up just great. So now let's go back to the first one. Now we want to line up this endpoint on that crosshair. So here we go, modify, reposition. We're going to do endpoint. Now we're going to select the second one, modify, reposition, start point. All right, they are perfectly lined up, but we need to have everything selected. Now I could go ahead and hit multi-point. I'm going to show you something because this could happen to you. And if I clicked on this, oh boy, I have this weird looking jump here. We don't want a weird looking jump because that's telling us that things are out of order and our start points and end points are on the same place. So I'm going to deselect. So I'm going to say select none. All right. And really what I want to do is I want this one first and this one second. So I can click on them in that order as long as I have my multi-select on. But there is a risk with doing that. The risk is that what if I move just a little bit? All right. So that's why normally I will have them, I'll select none, and then I will select all. And Pro Stitcher knows that this was my first one, and this is my second one, and it will actually do them in order. There's no weird jump, and I clearly have a start point and an end point, so I know I've done it right. So let's go ahead and baseline those together. All right, so now we have half of a circle. So now we are going to go ahead one more time. We're going to go edit, duplicate. Now this time I need to turn this a full 180 degrees. So I'm going to go to modify. I'm going to go to rotate. There we go. And we're going to go over to our 45. And to go 180 degrees, that's 4 clicks. 2, 3, 4. And you can kind of see if you're not sure if you're right, go ahead and kind of look at it. It's like, okay, that's going to line up. It doesn't matter that things are kind of wonky right now. Okay, I'm going to click on my first one, and I want this endpoint to line up over here. So let's go ahead and go modify, reposition, endpoint. All right, now we want to go ahead and select our second one, and we're going to reposition the start point. Now this is where I'm going to select none and then select all. Now this time we do have a start and end in the same point. It's in the same place because we're going to start. It's going to stitch all the way around, and I'm going to go ahead and baseline this. All right. So now I have this beautiful design, and I could just go ahead and stitch, right? Oh, no. I can't, because if you look up top here, this design now is 19.82 inches wide and tall. So unless you have an infinity, you better not try to stitch this. Okay. So now you could go ahead and resize this. Since it's all one thing, it's really easy. You can click on resize. If you're going to do this, you're going to want to turn on your lock so that your aspect ratio is locked. And then you can come down in this box. Whenever in Pro Stitcher you have a little box like this, you can always go ahead and click on it and you'll get your little fly out calculator, as I call it. And let's say I wanted this to be, maybe I want it to be a 12-inch circle, and I can hit enter and it is now resized. And so that's a safe size. Now, if I'm actually on my machine, I'm going to want to make sure that this crosshair is, that I can actually stitch out, right? So up until this point, we don't really care where the crosshairs are because we're only using it basically as a measuring tool. But now once you're ready to start stitching, that's a different situation. All right, you need to make sure. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and undo a few steps here. I'm going to undo until I get back to just having half. Okay, in fact, let me just delete that file and I can just close selected. Okay, so we're back to having just half of it done. So if you are a Moxie owner or you have a smaller throat space, maybe maybe you want to do a bigger circle, or even if you have a big machine, as these circles get bigger, you are going to have to segment them. So let me show you how to do that. So I can stitch this in halves, but I need this, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good right now because this would be taking up my whole throat space. So I can go ahead and I'm going to modify and go to rotate. Now, if I rotate back 45 degrees, okay, that's better. That's taking up less throat space. But if I go another 45, now I'm kind of ski-wampus going the other direction. So the thing we need to remember is that we can do great things here. So for half of 45 would be 22.5. So I'm just going to enter that into this box. Okay, so now it turned, and that's not situated how we want it, but it's straight up and down, which means that if I go 2 times to the left, now it is going to line up. So my start point and my end point are on the same plane. You can see that. So I could go ahead and stitch. I could start here and I could stitch half, and I would go ahead and I would put my needle down, and you could do a drag and drop here. You can advance. And then what I would do is, if you had already made the whole circle, you could do that, but you could just leave your needle down and you could just take this 1/2 of a spot, this one piece, and maybe you rotate it. So we'd have to rotate it 4 times. Now I didn't actually move my needle. That would have made a lot more sense, but let's just pretend it was over here. So my needle's down. I want that start point to be exactly where my needle is. Okay, so I could at that point go ahead and do reposition start point, and then I can just go ahead and continue stitching this bottom part of the circle. So as your circles get bigger, you've got some area that you can work with there. That is a really great trick to know. So if you know you're going to do that, one other thing you might want to think about is in Pro Stitcher, in your Pro Stitcher tab, before you start stitching, you might want to turn your end tie off so that it doesn't put down a bunch of stitches. And then when you go to start and to stitch the second one, you might turn start off. Just otherwise, you're going to have some stitches build up right here. But this is a lot of fun. Okay, so I do want to show you, we've got a few minutes, so I want to show you another trick. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to leave this on my screen. So let's say I wanted to build another, hold on, I'm just going to finish this quick so that we'll have it on our screen. So let's go ahead and we're going to edit it, duplicate. So let's go ahead and modify and rotate it, and let's turn it for 180 degrees. I just want this one hooked together. So let's take our first one and let's reposition our end point. So once you do this a few times, you're going to be like, oh, I totally get this. I do the first one, do the end point, do the second one, do the start point, and then I'm going to turn them all off, going to turn them all on, and I'm going to baseline, and it really is that easy. And poof, I have a circular design. Now, what if I want to put something in the middle? All right, so we're not going to worry about the size right now, but let's go back into that design, file design, open. And let's go down here and look. Let's just see if there's something else. Now, you do want to probably either use an edge to edge, or you're going to have to find something that has, let's see, sometimes I have a hard time talking and doing at the same time. None of you guys have that problem, do you? Okay, what am I looking for? Okay, let's just use this wheat. We'll use this heirloom wheat border. This one will work just great. So the start point and end point are on the same plane. That is basically what determines that something's an edge to edge. So let's go ahead and use this, and that could look kind of cool in the middle. So the very first thing we want to do is we modify. Edit, duplicate. So we need a second one. So I'm just going to drag it over here so that we know it's the second one. And the second one we need to modify, rotate, and let's rotate it 45 degrees. Okay, I am going to move my windmills and just get them totally out of the way over here. And then I'm actually going to even move my crosshairs. There we go. Okay, now let's pick this first one. Okay, so let's select the first one. And you guys know the drill by now. Okay, we're going to modify, reposition our endpoint. Then we're going to click on the second one. We're going to modify the start point. Now, this is where things change. Okay, so because I already have my windmills open, I can't do select none and then select all, because you can see that now it's also selecting the windmills. And now I have this crazy jump because it would stitch this and then it would come over here and try to stitch this. So here's my hint. If you're really going to do this, I would probably go ahead and save the windmills as a, call it something, windmill circle. You need to always change the name, and then close it, and then build my second one, and then put it together. But if you don't want to do that, I am going to show you something that we never teach beginners, okay? Because you know that we have tabs, and we have the ribbon, and we have a sidebar. But if we told beginners that we also have tabs in the sidebar, their minds would be blown and there would be big trouble, okay? So, but this is something you need to know about. So we can go into that workspace tab and it will show us. So we know that these windmills are what it's actually calling merged group 60. If that drives you crazy, you could click on that and you could rename it. Now this doesn't save it, or it's not saving it at all, but you could call it, you could go windmill circle or something, just in case you were afraid that you were going to forget, what was what. So now that will stay named like that. And here we have our heirloom wheat border. That's our first one. And then we have heirloom wheat border 68. So ProStitcher always adds a little number onto the end to tell us that we've duplicated something. So if we want to select both of these, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the multi-point. Okay, so the first one's selected, and then we can select the second one. And then we can baseline, and it's only affecting these two things. All right, and it changed to merged group 82. So the next time when I duplicate this, I go edit, duplicate. Now you can see that we have merged group 82, 84. Now I have no idea how these numbers get assigned, but I do know that it keeps adding numbers onto the end. So you just have to know, okay, this was 82, this is 82, 84. That's the second one. All right, so we can continue and let's put these together. Whoop. So I accidentally left on multi-select. That's something that you will do. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that and select none. So first we need to select this guy, and we're going to go modify, rotate. And remember, now we have two of them to be hooked together, so we got to go 90 degrees. Okay, so let's line them up again. Here's our first one. So we'll reposition our endpoint. Click on the second one, modify the start point. And now here's where we get into our little trick. We're going to select none, but this time we're going to multi-space. And then we're going to come up here to the workspace tab that's in the sidebar. And we're going to click on the first one and the second one. And then we can baseline those together. And since we're here, we're going to go ahead and finish this. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate. We need to turn this. So we're going to go modify, rotate. This one has to go, we're going the full 180 around. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I do need to turn off multi-select. I want to take my first one and I want to go ahead and modify. I want to reposition the endpoint. Click on the second one, modify the start point. Oh, here we go, guys. So we're almost there. We got to come back up to our workspace. We have to have multi-select on or we can't select both of the groups. So we have, now it's called group 92 and 92, 94. And we baseline them and poof. So at this point, since I have my circle done, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and I could rename this. I get the little, I can clear it out, click up here, and I could call this wheat circle. This will be my whole crop circle thing. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and put this wheat into the middle of our windmill. Now, there's a couple ways we could do this. We could just go to resize and click, 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 click forever until we get it small enough. Or we could go ahead. Oh, I've got multi-select on. I am going to show you a little trick. So we're going to go into simulate. So I move. So on our machines, we would just be moving our needle. So I'm going to move my crosshairs to kind of the inside. It doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to hit measure. And I'm going to drag it to the other side of the inside of the circle. And right here, X is showing me that it's almost 6.5. So if I change this to 6.5-ish, it should fit. Okay, so that saves us doing a whole lot of clicks. So let's go ahead and go select. We can turn measure back off so that we don't keep getting that little measurement warning. So let's go to modify, resize. And our wheat is 25 inches. So let's go ahead and just click in the box and let's tell it to be 6.25. All right, so now it has shrunk down and let's see how that's going to look. I can kind of just drag it over here. Yeah, that's not going to be too bad. Now, I would want these two things to be perfectly lined up. Now, I don't have an area, so I can't use a line. Could I make an area and use a line? Yes, but we've been using reposition all day, so why wouldn't we continue? So I'm going to go ahead and go modify reposition. So my wheat circle is selected. This time I'm going to use center, and it's going to center that circle. Now I'm going to click on my windmills, and I'm going to also center that. And now I have those perfectly centered and ready to stitch. Now we know right now that this is too big because my windmills are 18.63. That's probably too big for most of us to do. So at this point, we could go ahead and select all. And we could actually go ahead and resize the whole thing. At this point, if we resize, it's going to resize everything. Okay. So I hope that, one thing that's really fun to do with this is to put this on a pillowcase or something like that. You could even drop some designs in the corner to fill in a pillowcase. But I just think this is a really fun process. And after you do it a couple of times, it will seem a lot easier. All right. So I hope that if you do that, send me an email. I'm okayquilting@gmail.com. I'd love to see what you do because I just think it's so much fun. So
yes, thank you so much, Kaye. That was so great. Now tell us, where can everybody find you? Where can they learn more from you?
So I'm Oh Kaye Quilting, but that's not like O and a K. So my name's Kaye. So that is OHKAYE. So which some days is okay, and some days that's okay. You just never know what kind of day it's going to be.
Awesome. And if they want to learn more about circles, where can they do that?
So I do teach an online course about this that's a little longer, and we go a little bit slower and get into more of the details. But yeah, I just think it's fun. I think it's amazing, really, how quickly and easily you can build your own designs.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for joining me.
I haven't seen any questions pop up in the chat, but if you have any questions for us later, we'll come back to this video and try and answer your questions. But thanks so much for tuning in. And thank you so much, Kaye, for teaching us about circles.
Well, my pleasure.
All right. Y'all have a good day.